Hello, welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to be talking about RGB versus CMYK. RGB versus CMYK. So these are two different color modes, right? The two most popular color modes for designers, right? And we need to learn how each of them work and when to use which. Okay. Now, we're also going to understand how the computer sees colors. Okay. Let's go in and start from RGB. Good. RGB stands for red, green, and blue. RGB stands for red, green, and blue. RGB basically is the ideal color mode when you are working with screen. When you're working with screen or designs that won't need to be printed, okay, that's when you make use of RGB. RGB works with designs that you won't need to print. So for instance, you have web interfaces, UI mockups, okay, you have designs, social media designs, and all of that that you're not going to print. Basically, anything going for screen should be in RGB, right? But if you want to print, that's when you use the CMYK color mode. Okay, good. Now, RGB is referred to as an additive color mode. Okay, now when you say additive color mode, what you mean is that when you add the colors together, when you add all the RGB colors together, it gives you white. Okay, now because RGB is for screen, what it basically means is that light is mixing with light. Okay, light is mixing with light. Okay, so because whatever goes on your screen, right, is light. When your laptop is off, you turn it on, what happens is there is a light that shines at the background of your laptop, right? So whatever happens on screen is basically light. Okay, good. So RGB is an additive color mode. Okay, that means if you add all the colors together in RGB, what you get is white. Okay, good. Now it starts from 0, which means no light, to the least saturation, which means it starts from 0, which means no light or least saturation, to 255, which represents the highest saturation. Okay, so no light at all, which is black, is 0, right? Then while the highest saturation of RGB is 255. Okay, 255. Now RGB contains over 16 million colors, right? It contains over 16 million colors. Now, because it's on screen and you are basically just mixing lights together, RGB tends to have a lot more colors than CMYK. CMYK, on the other hand, is for print. So there is an amount of color that you can obtain, right, industrially. Okay, there's an amount of color that can be obtained from mixing, right? Because for CMYK, the printer has to manually, like, they have to manually produce, or rather mix, the colors. Okay, but for RGB it's just light play, so you can get as many as 16 million colors, right? While CMYK has just 1 million colors. CMYK has just 1 million colors. Good. So what that means is that if you want to design and then you design in RGB, okay, if you want to design something for print and you design in RGB, right, there is a chance that that color you are designing with does not exist in CMYK. What that means is that that color you are designing with cannot be printed out. Okay, because there are 16 times more colors in RGB than they are in CMYK. 16 times. So that means the probability that the color you pick in RGB will appear in CMYK is just 1 out of 16 picks. Okay, so that's why you have to focus on RGB when you're designing for screen, and then focus on CMYK when you're designing for print. Okay, so that you don't have to design something and then when it's printed out you get a different thing. I learned this the hard way when I started designing. Okay, good. Now the RGB is the ideal color mode for designs only for digital. We have web app user interfaces, social media posters, illustrations that are not going for print. That's when you use RGB. Okay, good. It is not ideal for print, and it should be converted to CMYK before printing. RGB is not ideal for print and it should be converted to CMYK before printing. Good. Now let's go to CMYK. CMYK stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. That's the meaning of CMYK. And if you look at the bottom here, you can see this is cyan, this is magenta, this is yellow, and the K stands for black. Good. That's the meaning of CMYK. CMYK is referred to as a subtractive color mode. Subtractive color mode. Now, CMYK starts with white. Okay, when you remove all the colors together, you get white in CMYK. That's why it's called the subtractive color mode. And the reason why that is because, you know, paper is color white. Okay, paper is white. Okay, so you are more or less starting from white in CMYK, then you are adding colors to it, then you are putting colors on CMYK on white, right? So if you subtract, so why it's called the subtractive color mode is that if you subtract all the colors in CMYK, what you get is white. Why in RGB, if you add all the colors together, what you get is white. That's why it's called a subtractive color mode. Good. Now CMYK starts from 0, which means white, to 100%, which means black. You know, RGB is 0 to 255, right? CMYK is from 0 to 100%, which means black. Okay. Now, CMYK contains about 1 million colors, like I've already told you, and is the ideal color mode for prints. Okay, good. The colors in CMYK are duller than the RGB colors. Okay, so the colors in CMYK are duller than the RGB colors generally. So you know your print has to do with light, so it's going to be brighter, right? So you don't compare that to CMYK colors. Okay, good. Now it converts properly to RGB. CMYK converts properly to RGB, and that's because there are 1 million colors in CMYK, there are 16 million colors in RGB. So all the 1 million colors in CMYK are found in RGB. Okay, while why a lot of the colors, over 15 million colors from RGB, are not found in CMYK. So that's why CMYK converts easily to RGB, but RGB doesn't convert easily to CMYK. Okay, good. Now I'm going to show you how this conversion is done in Photoshop. Okay, that's, let me say you already made a mistake and you started designing in RGB, or you started designing CMYK, or you designed something that should go for both print and digital. Let me show you how you're going to get that done in Photoshop. Good. All right, great. So this is Photoshop now. Okay, now when you want to open a new document in Photoshop, you go File, New. Okay, File, New. Good. Now this new dialog box, I want you to just go straight to color mode. You can see this is where you change the color mode, RGB or CMYK. As you can see, there are other color modes here, but we're just going to be dealing with RGB and CMYK, right? So now let's leave this on RGB. Okay, good. So if you look over here, right, where the title of the document is, you would see RGB here, right? You see RGB. Okay, that's because the color mode we're working in is RGB. So but if you want to convert from RGB to CMYK, simply go to image, go to mode, then change immediately. You can see RGBs are highlighted. Just tick CMYK. It's going to bring out a dialog box, right? Just click OK. Good. Now you can see it's changed from RGB, it's changed to CMYK. You can see that here, right? Also, if you want to change back to RGB, right, you move from image, mode, tick RGB, okay, and then it moves back to RGB. Okay, that's very simple. So whenever you make that mistake, or whenever you have a design that you want to do both for print and for digital, ensure that you make the conversions as required. Okay, ensure you make the conversions as required to avoid you having issues with your design. Good. Now there's one last thing I want you to know about colors. Okay, and that's what we call hex code. Now let me open this up. All right, now if you look at this, now let's take a look at this dialog box that is open here. All right, so this dialog box you can see here, I want to show you something, right? Good. Now, if you go over to, you can see this RGB here. This is RGB color mode. This is CMYK color mode. All this LAB, this HSB, right? But we're looking at RGB color mode and CMYK. As you can see, RGB color mode. You can see here you have for the red, you have 237. You have green 196. You have blue 200. Now, none of them is high, can ever be higher than 255, right? So now let's try to change this 237 here to 256. Let's see. It gives you this error message, right? Because like we said, RGB ranges from 0 to 255. Good. Now how about CMYK? Like I said, CMYK is in percentage. It goes from 0 to 100. 0 meaning white, 100 meaning black. So now if we change everything here to 0, 0, 0, you can see it has picked white. The new color here is white. You can see that. Okay, if we change everything here to 100%, 100%, 100%, and 100%, you can see everything is now black. It has chosen what I'll call the blackest black. Okay, good. So that's for CMYK. But then I want to show you something. And you can see this code over here, these six codes you can see here, right? There's alphanumeric. When I say alphanumeric, I mean it's mixed with alphabets and numbers. This code here is called a hex code. This code is called a hex code. The computer understands colors in forms of hex codes, right? Because there are as much as 16 million colors, right? The computer stores it as a code. That code is what we call hex code. So each different color in each different shade and form is stored in its own hex code. Okay, good. So if I click, look at this, the color highlighted here. Now if I click this here, watch the hex code box. It changes. Good. If I click here, it changes. If I click, it changes. So each different color has its own hex code, right? This hex code is short form for hexadecimal code. If you remember hexadecimal, right, from secondary school, junior secondary school, you know that hexadecimal has to do with figures of 16, right? Just like how binary has 2 digits, hexadecimal is 16. So you have 0 to 9, then after 9 you have A to F, right? 0 to 9 and A to F. Good. So these numbers are made up of 0 to 9 and A to F. So you can't even type in a G as one of the codes. So if I decide to delete this F here and put a G here, it's not even going to type because it is not recognized as one of the codes. So it is only 0 to 9 and A to F that makes up this hexadecimal code, right? And each code is unique to a particular color, right? A particular color, a particular shade, a particular of that same color, right? Each code is unique. Now let me just rough this code a little. You can see this is E3 whatever. Let me change this E here to 0, right? And then change this A here to another 0. Then this A here, let me put it as F. Good. And this E here, let me put it as an A. You can see that with every movement the color changes, right? This is the new color. This was what we were using before, right? But you can see that new color. Now let me change it from E. Instead of E, let me make it A. You can see what the color changes to. Let me make it, instead of A, let me make it D. Can you see that? Good. So let's put 1 here. Then the second D, let me make it 0. Good. Can you see? So basically each color, right, has its own hex code. Good. Very important, and I thought to mention that. So when you see this, you are not surprised. So why this is important is if you see a particular shade of color, a particular color that you want online, you can copy the hex code of that color, right? And I'll show you how in the next video. You can copy the hex code of that color and paste it here, and you get the exact same shade, the exact same color that you're looking at there. Okay, all right, good. So that's that about RGB and CMYK. In the next video, we are going to be talking about how you can get matching colors for your design. I mean the mafia way of getting matching colors for your design. Okay, now these are like cheat lists that I use. These are like cheat softwares I use myself to get matching colors for my design. Okay, good. See you in the next video.